Okay, so do you want me to start again with Zolly Delisa, just so that we can record it?
Sure, if it doesn't
Okay.
take too much of time.
No, 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 no. Look, I'm going to go obviously with additional time here because I was a little bit late. So, um, as I said, we're speaking about. I went to this meet the CEOs thing on a. Okay, wait. Let's see if he comes on. How there you are! Oh my word! So good. It's good to have you on board. Okay, so I'm just going to go from the beginning. We didn't really say much, but I went to a thing by the call, which was called Meet the CEOs. Okay, and this was a master class for business owners, and this was in 2006. So what I found, oops, where is it now? What I really found interesting was I I met the guy by the name of Zolly Delisa, and he was the CEO of the Chamber of Mines. And he says he has given himself his own title. He calls himself a systems integrator, right? A label that sums up perfectly his approach to leadership. So, coming into the mining industry cold, Deleza says he realized that the key to success was to surround himself with people who knew what he didn't. Okay, so in other words, where he lacked, he surrounded himself with people like that. So his role was then to bring together what each one had to offer, to be the systems integrator of his executives, right? So it's pretty much what you guys are. This, the systems integrator of your team, the CEO of your own team, and making use of all those talents of your team. Okay. So I did say to you earlier on that with that personality test we did, where it says these are these people's negatives, these are their positives, this is what they struggle with, this is what they do well, etc. So the first thing, if you remember last week, I said you have to get to know each and every team member of your team. So take that personality test that we did and get to know what their shortcomings are. And the other thing that I said earlier on, Bartley, was that it's not useful for us to use people with skills that they don't have. So in other words, use their skills, that they use their strengths. Okay, because if you're going to assign or give them something that they're weak at, it's not empowering for them. Look, we all have to learn sometimes. I did accounting and I was very good at it. I was very good to, I'm talking about in my 20s now. um, if there was a shortage, just give me the figure and I go whoop, 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 and I do my balances and I find it. Very good at that, but I hated it. So I never took my career as in accounts further because I just didn't like it. So please, if you can, please get to know your team leaders, I mean your team, and get to know what they are good at and get to know what they are not good at, and try and then cultivate that or give them the skills or teach them. Let me just get into this. Um, sorry, guys. Mm, So I'm gonna have to share the screen again. Oops. Mm. So what I thought I'd put together is empowering remote teams, because this is the way the future is going, right? I want to know from each one of you, how do you feel about working remotely? Bongi, can you start?
Ooh, I've been working remotely since March last year.
Okay, so
And
it's more than a year, yeah.
And so it's been quite a journey. I do find my husband is a teacher, and so my husband and daughter go to school every day. So a good example, Kissy, just to show you how I feel about working remotely, is yesterday when there's a public holiday, my daughter and husband want downtime. They want to stay at home, lounge around, and that's their relaxing day. On the other hand, I wake up with so much energy to go out to the world.
I know. Yeah, they want to stay in and you want to go out.
Yeah, I'm so sick and tired of the same surrounding. Home becomes work, because it blurs the lines. And so what I've learned in the year that I've been working remotely is to trick my mind.
Yes.
Sounds stupid, but I'll put like my flowers, instead of putting it in the lounge, I'll put it in the area that I choose to work in on that day. I'll do small things to try and
Okay. All right.
reset my energies.
Okay. Yeah. Would you, if I would give you a choice of working remotely and going into the office every day, sitting in traffic and all of those things, what would you choose?
I'd love a flexible structure where there's some days I can go out and some days I stay in.
Okay.
What's been really good about SM Tax, just one more thing, is there's a Ragus workspace that we all use. And so on my calendar, if I can see I'm having a heavy day, then I'll go to the workspace. So that's worked out quite nicely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Luyanda. Thank you, Bongi.
I'd have to agree with Bongi. A lot of what she said. I think I definitely can identify with lines being blurred, right? Not knowing when home starts and when work ends, right? If you're working from home, but also I think would definitely love a flexible structure, and I think SM Tax has provided that, where you can go out to the Regis centers and you can do that. That has been nice for me. I think though, as a whole, it has its challenges and it has its benefits. One of the things that frustrates me is the network at home. So a lot of things hinder me. So I find that sometimes I can't move at the pace that I normally move at because it's just little hindrances, or being at home with my mom, she doesn't understand. It's still her house, so she wants to do what she wants to do and make as much noise as she wants. So there are those little things. But all in all, I definitely would say that it has been a godsend in some instances, just being comfortable, not being in traffic. But again, I think for me personally, like Bongi said, a more flexible structure where you have some of the week where you go into the office and then some where you're at home, I think for me would work.
Oh, that's great. So like a balance of the two. Thanks, Luyanda. Nkululeko. He's trying. Are you trying to hide your face under your thing there?
Not a bit.
Hey.
I definitely second the two ladies. But for me, I think it was quite a challenge at the beginning, and I just actually adjusted to it. From just moving from client to client in my previous jobs to being at home, basically 24.
Kind of a switch,
24/7.
Yeah.
Yes, that was quite a challenge, but right now it's quite dope, and I wake up at whatever time.
I like the word that
I'm saving.
The youngsters use dope.
I'm saving a lot of petrol.
my grandson is always dope, granny. Dope. Dope. Drugs.
But when it comes to then, just working with then the teams, I think at first it was actually challenging, but gradually the guys have started to actually take responsibility of their own work. And obviously there are areas to actually improve on, and hoping that, as time goes, that is going
Yeah.
to actually gradually going to actually improve.
Okay.
But I definitely don't see myself going to the office though.
Yeah, that's what most accountants would say, because they, they're just interested in their figures, and they're mostly on their computers in any case, whereas some of the other office workers have time to go into the different departments, go out for a smoke and all of those things, Sino.
For me, Kirsty, I'm also 50-50. I would like to go back to the office, but I would also like maybe, that to be flexible as well. I don't think I can do Monday to Friday in an office, but sometimes for me, the challenge for me is also just the network sometimes.
Yes.
And I get lonely also just working by, like I'm here by myself
Yeah.
the whole day.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it's, I don't know. I want to go back sometimes, but I don't know. I'll see.
Okay. Okay. Barclay.
So for me, if you ask Coach Casey, what would I prefer? I would prefer 100% work from home.
Okay.
Funny how I give out that answer, because I'm the person that works with energy a lot, same as you. So I like to interact. I like to speak to people. I like to gauge.
That personal contact, the touch.
Yes.
And,
So that's the type of person I am. And that helps me throughout the day, most of the time.
Okay.
But lately, in fact, my previous job, I worked 100% remotely. So I was case accountant at a big financial institution, Capitec Bank, and I worked 100% virtually. And that then geared me to be prepared to work online every time, and this is what I want to do now going forward. So it's a bit of both for me. I would like to go to the office, but for my personal preference, but with regards to work and being productive, virtually for me is
okay, perfect. Okay, so the reason why I'm asking is basically just to get a sense, of what you think working remotely means to you, because I think a lot of businesses are going that way because they're saving money as well, and a lot of people work like the same with me. With my coaching business, I work remotely, but with another business that I'm involved in for all these years, I'm lucky that they can answer my calls on a separate line on the switchboard there. And I don't have to pay additional money because there's already an infrastructure there. So how to stay connected in the time of physical distancing? Okay, so what software are you using or platform are you using to actually work as team members and to interact with each other and work on your projects in real time? Maybe Bongi, you can answer that?
Sure. There's several systems, but the main one is Asana and Outlook.
Okay. And how does that work for you?
I'm a fan of Outlook. I manage my calendar quite well, even have color coordination, the works. Sina will tell you all about it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just to make you laugh. Why do you think I'm not using these bright colors? It's like, okay, instead of using these boring colors and, it's black and white and let's brighten up the screen.
Yeah, just to help me know what kind of day am I having. So strategic is blue. If it's a blue day, then I know it's a thinking day. Anyway, so Asana though is the operation system that everybody uses. It gives you visibility of any task at any point in time. Everyone knows who's working on what. You can assign different team members. So these team leads here are mostly interacting on Asana.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And when you interact with as leaders, when you interact with your team, what platform do you work? Do you use Teams?
Yes, we use Teams. We have a WhatsApp group with my team. So I'm pretty lucky in the Exco. I've got 2 team leads. So Bahle and
Okay.
Sino, I give them the space to lead the team and
Yeah.
only interject,
Yeah.
So effectively my team is Bahle and Sino, really.
Yeah. Well, that's great, because I sit just to show you as well. So I'm not operationally really involved, although I hold the title of managing director. But what I have also is a WhatsApp group. We I'll just get it. Where I sit with management on the same group. If you can see, oops, can you see that?
Yes.
And so I hardly ever interact, but when I see some stuff going on, I would say, okay, guys, let me advise you to do this.
Yes.
Or
very similar.
do that, yeah.
So very similar to my role in the
on
startup
WhatsApp
services.
that happened, yeah, So we had an incident where a customer fell, and she tripped over something, and so that's quite important for us as a company, So those are the kind of things, and any legal stuff I would get involved, because that's my hat. I deal with all legal stuff. Did we lose Bahle again?
No, he's still here.
I'm back now.
Oh, you're here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to give me a moment. Are you having regular team meetings? And if you are, what do you use to have those meetings? What platform? Teams or?
I'd like the team to answer. Sino, we have quite a few team meetings in startup services.
I think that's what I think. I'd
Yes.
like. Let me ask Nkululeko. Okay.
All right.
So it's the same question. It says here you have to have regular team meetings. And so what I'd like to know is from each and every one, how regular those team meetings are. Okay. Nkululeko, go.
I have a lot of meetings with everyone.
But,
I've got a lot of meetings with the guys. But basically I have 3 main meetings with the guys, right? One on Mondays, which is basically what we call like an escalation meetings with like my team, right? So those would be escalation things that they want me to intervene on at the beginning of the week. And then I'll then go and actually intervene on those things. And then we have
so that's HR stuff?
Sorry?
HR stuff?
No, not really HR. It's just escalate. Actually, any escalation. It actually might be HR. It might be client-related, escalations. Okay. But mainly the guys usually use that for client-related.
Client-related, yeah. Okay.
And then on Wednesday, we then actually have an HR training type of meeting, and then something actually came up between Monday and Wednesday. We then would actually cover whatever needs to actually be covered, and any matters that actually arose like in the previous week that we never actually got the opportunity to actually discuss. And then I think then that's just the general meetings that we usually actually have on
Okay.
Fridays, which is a debriefing actually meeting
Yeah.
for everyone. So everyone is actually
Okay.
involved, startup services,
Okay.
tax, and stuff actually like that. But in between that, it's just meetings galore with clients.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think because you're working remotely, the meetings are the part where you kind of stay in contact with each other. So it's good to have regular team meetings, but meetings has to be not a waste of time. It has to be targeted meetings, planned meetings, controlled, because meetings can go on and on and on, and people can bring certain things in which is not on the agenda, and the way to control those meetings is to have that agenda and say to them, this is what we are going to discuss. We are going to be focusing on this. If there's anything else, rather have maybe once a week a general meeting, and you put on your agenda the different topics where people can put the different things on that they want to discuss. And in that way, you'll have a productive meeting, because meetings can be very unproductive as well, So
I think that's what I try to actually emphasize with the guys. I think as time actually went, things actually got better, because we actually realized from the beginning of the year till now that we were having all these meetings, but no agenda was, in place. And so everyone went to the meeting without a cooking idea of what was actually happening.
Yeah.
And so you didn't actually have the time to plan, and only one person would dictate the topic, of that actually meeting.
Yeah.
And then you realize that, there was no need for most of these meetings. And then you could actually see that there was actually then actually a decrease of the meetings.
Yes.
At least people were better prepared to actually have a discussion, in the meetings. So I definitely hear and understand what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Okay, great. Sino.
Yes, Kissy, we do have regular meetings, but I do feel that we have too many meetings in 1 week. And yeah, just for me, I feel like maybe we shouldn't have like an hour-long meeting every time. Some meetings can be shorter, keep them like 30 minutes, because my main thing is that clients who call in, we've had clients complaining that, but you guys are always in meetings. When I call in and ask for Sinovuyo, you tell me that she's in a meeting. When I call for this one is in a meeting. So we have too many meetings in a week, and they are too long. And I do feel that they are not planned for, some of them. And then, So
yeah. Okay, I get that. Thanks, Sino. Barclay?
We have a weekly meeting. We have one
so
weekly meeting as a team.
Okay.
Yeah. But in between that, we have, different touch points depending on what. So if we maybe want to engage a client, we normally do a 30 minutes or 15 minutes brief, where we try to, come up with a plan on how to best assist this particular client. We do that on a regular basis. So if Sino is meeting a specific client in her business advisory capacity, she'll then maybe rope me in and Masuba to maybe discuss a little bit about the client, and then we let her go to that meeting. It depends. So we have one regular meeting, weekly meeting, but then in between we have those short stops
as well. Yeah. Okay. All right. Luyanda?
On my end, Coach Kissy, we have a meeting, a standard meeting every day. And the reason for that is just the nature of the team we're in. So we need to strategize every day. So there's one standard meeting every day.
Okay.
And then we have one big one on Monday, and then one smaller one on the Friday.
Okay.
But every single day is a strategic day for us. And it's
Okay, fine.
yeah.
So it's kind of just a catch up, a meeting, and the other meetings are more strat meetings or problem solving meetings,
Allocations,
yeah.
delegation, yes.
And then obviously you have meetings with your senior
Oh yes, correct. So we
members of
definitely
your
have the
company, like
ManCo.
directorate meetings, exco meetings, etc. Okay, so yes, regular meetings is the key, because within that is a lot of communication, but also is to cut down on issues that maybe has already been discussed and resolved and agreed on how those things are going to be further. It's not for that to come in every time and take, because then it just takes energy and it takes time away of stuff that's discussed over and over and over again. I think what I want to know is, and maybe I will think about it and maybe just give you some guidelines in terms of your business, right? How to run your meetings best. But also I've put you guys on a effective time management program, course. Please do it, because I don't see any of you guys doing that. And it's actually very important. It's very simple stuff, but it's also stuff that we tend to forget about, that we need reminding of. And it's got to do with habits. Remember, if we are in bad habits, we are going to continue with bad habits. But when we start doing things, at least they say to change a habit takes at least 21 days, right? But then after that 21 days, you can actually fall back into your old habits. So it's a constant thing that one has to work on and to improve how you as a person operates, right? So they said there are plenty of apps teams can use to keep team members connected, no matter where they are. So it's daily or weekly meetings enhance communication and collaboration, very important, right, amongst members. So this is a session that I wanted to say to you. So we do know the reason why you are a leader is because you know more than what maybe that other person knows, or your level is higher than that person in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, and all of those things. And the one thing that if you find good time for that is to, and also effective, and it doesn't have to be long things. You can choose every day in your meeting to include a 10-minute or not even a 10-minute, a 5-minute coaching session. So you have your week and you see, okay, that one is doing this or that one is doing this, and it's coming up amongst other team members as well, and it's becoming a challenge. All you do is just go and do a little bit of research if you don't know, and just plan a 5-minute session to open your meetings or close your meetings with every day. That brings another spin to your meeting, because you're imparting with knowledge, you're empowering somebody else, and it helps you as a team leader to make your team better. Choose something very, that you can, 5-10 minutes that you can just run a quick coaching session with your team. Okay, so if you think some of your team members wasting time on certain things, just maybe put the heading there. Do you want to save time and have more relaxed time for yourself, or less stress for yourself? Because with me, it's about, I'm giving you a job to do. That's the end result I want. How you get there, I don't care. As long as the end result is there in the professionalism that I want, and in the quality of work that you're going to give me, how you do that, that is totally up to you. And so if you see also sometimes is something that you can maybe streamline in how people do things, you know, is maybe run little coaching sessions of, look guys, this is what works for me, and I think it will work for you too, and these are my reasons why, and you know, instead of doing this, do that, etc., etc. And you can give them a little bit of a link where they can go and read up on it, because there's so much on the net for us to empower our team members with. Okay, so this is a safe space for team members to raise issues, collaborate on solutions, share ideas, and connect with their team leads. Because sometimes, you know what Zoli says, you know, he's using people that has the skills that he doesn't have, right? So we human, we all don't have the same skills, or we all not strong at everything that we can do. You know, I still yet have to meet someone that doesn't have a fault or that doesn't, you know anything. You can't know everything. So this is a good thing for you to start maybe to implement into your new, you know, your new team week next week. And maybe it will actually be also a pleasant surprise for them, you know, and you know, do little things, you know, do little things to empower people, right? You on your own can do a team member of the week, you know, and this is encouraging competition, because some people are competitive, you know, and some people like to do that, like to see, I'm employee of the week because of that, you know, and others would then say, hey, Sino or Leonda or Nkaleleko or Barkle, how did you do that? You know, show me how to do that. What did you do here that yet you got that? You know what I mean? So it's just because we're working remotely, we've got to make it a little bit more exciting. You know, speak to management, to top management, and see if there's something small, even if it's a little voucher that they can go to a coffee place to go and have a nice full breakfast for employee of the week or employee of the month, if you want to do it in that way. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Foster collaboration. You know, it's one of the things that is very important, because collaboration cements the team together. And I know it's like, okay, you know, we were used to all the years. I mean, God, you know, all this for 60 years, I was used to going to the office, used to having tea and coffee. What we do is with our team leaders, twice a year, we take them out. We take them to a grand dinner, or we take them to a grand lunch, and we, you know, they can have anything that they want. At one stage, and they always invite me. And sometimes I pitch up there and I see them all sitting there, about 20 of them. And I see them all sitting there, and they digging into prawns, they digging into meat, and you know, but it's a way of showing appreciation, you know. And I think, Bongi, maybe that is something you should speak to with your, I know there are some people that works in different areas, you know. I don't know how you're going to manage this, especially in the different, in Joburg and you know, place like Sino is somewhere in the Eastern Cape. So it's far, right? But maybe there should be, like we had that team meeting, that team thing, and it should be made special, you know, because especially for the team leaders, because at the end of the day, team leaders are what actually keeps the organization together, and that's the oil of the wheels. You know, the wheels turn, but the team leaders, they are the ones that keep that thing going, keeps operations going. You know, and so the business that I'm involved in is involved in for 30 years for building maintenance, right? So we do cleaning, hygiene, pest control, and all of those things. And so the cleaning teams are quite big, and we are in retail. And because retail is, you know, it's 7 days a week, etc., you know, and we just never get to see the, you know, all the leaders together. So what we do is on a monthly basis, we bring them all into this, our offices, and we create a whole day of, it's a meeting, it's a structured meeting, it's got an agenda, and after the meeting, they have a ball, you know, we have lunch for them, we have, I have a training session for them, and so I empower them as well, you know. But what is important is that they're seeing the other team leaders as well, and they can share ideas as well, you know, and they're happy to see each other as well. So it's just something, you know, that maybe, you know, you must look at what work and productivity tools do you use, right? So some of the tools are team get-togethers, like the lunches that we do. So as teams migrate more work into the cloud, members can easily collaborate on projects and achieve goals more seamlessly. It is faster collaboration because it's everything, it's there. And I think what's happening also is that, and I'll touch on it a little bit later, what's happening is that we need to actually sometimes create time during the day to look after ourselves. This is very important, okay? Providing regular feedback. The one thing that I really dislike is if I give any one of my managers, if I give them a task, if I just say, let's just say, like for instance, we had a serious incident where somebody fell, and it was a famous person, and my client that I've got a contract with for the last 20 years, you know, just wanted to shut them off that they don't go public with it. But what happened was that, what is this rugby player that passed away last year? The colored guy. I see him. Anyway, he was, his wife went into the Plattekloof store, and Plattekloof is not quite a swanky area in Cape Town, and she fell. And she obviously sued Pick n Pay, started proceedings, etc., and they ran around, etc. But I sent an email to her, and I wanted, there's a certain policy that we follow, right? If somebody gets hurt, it's to interview the actual team leader or supervisor of that store, is to go and get the video footage and all of those things, and I prepare that, and then they give me a full, the area manager gives me a full feedback of the incident. And if they leave anything out there, because it's in company policy how this is structured, you know, I get irritated because it's right there, it's in company policy, and you know what the structures should be, and feedback, you know, regular feedback. I don't want to ask, send me an email, send me feedback on this, there should be, you know, that responsibility from the leader to keep me in the loop, even if there's nothing, you know, as to say, look, there's still nothing, we're still waiting on that, but I'll keep you in the loop. Then you can take that out of your mind and not think about it, right? But if you have been sending a whole lot of emails to your team, to one person, let's just say one person, and there's no actual feedback, it sits here, you know, what is happening there? You're thinking, has that been done? So your mind is clogged up with all these thoughts running through your mind of what I call stuff that work that is not finalized, or work that is still pending, and so it sits there, right? But the moment you get an email to say, I'm giving feedback of this is where it is, leave it with me, I'll give you further feedback, then whoop, out, now you know what's happening there. So it's just keep people in the know, because you as a leader then have less in your head, and you can focus properly on what is important for you to do in your job. Okay, so Just got to move the little things around here. So it is essential remote members receive the assurance that their work is important and appreciated, right? Very important. Feedback sessions allow teams leads to gauge the level of engagement of their members. How do they feel about their work? Are they happy? Do they feel supported? Very important, you know, these feedback sessions, and this is why regular meetings are important. Then, and then, you know, include everyone, you know. It's vital members feel that they are part of a team. What is the worst thing? If you feel you're not part of something and you feel excluded, it really doesn't feel good, you know. It wakes up those demons in childhood trauma that you may have had, where you didn't, where mom and dad didn't tell you that they loved you, or you felt the one sister was made more than the other one, or the other one was always said she was pretty and the other one was not. So it just, you know, in terms of that, I don't care who we are. We can be how strong, we can be how educated, we can be how up there, but there are certain things that human beings need, and that's showing interest and how someone else make you feel. They will never, you know, what you said to them goes in here and out there and they forget, but how you made them feel is remembered far longer. So it, you know, it's vital members feel a part of the team, and seemingly small things like making sure no one gets left behind in email lists and group chats significantly affect morale and belongingness. You know, we all want to belong. This is something I think, you know, you have to introduce. Go on fun team breaks. Play a game, you know. I think, why are you laughing? Why are you smiling, Nkululeko?
I wish I had the time.
Sorry, you wish you had the time.
I wish I had the time.
Well,
I feel like
you can do fun breaks and do it 7 o'clock in the morning.
I feel like you should have brought my bosses here.
Or you can do it, you know, if you want to put in more after your day, after your day ends, you can have a quick 20-minute banter with your team, you know, and that's after. So go on fun team breaks. Have the entire team check in on an informal. It's an informal. It's not, you know, because when we look at meetings with agendas, it's very structured. It's very businesslike. You know, it's all about what you did, what you didn't do, and it's what we call a shutout session, or it's, you know, they say the higher you go, the more the stress, right? So what do? The stress goes down. You pass it on to your team, right? So have that entire team check-in on it, very informal, right? Have coffee, have an affirmation on your front head or some, you know, on the forehead, something fun, right? Where everyone can chill and virtually hang out with one another. And the agenda is simply to establish team rapport and camaraderie, you know, and it's that is where you forget about, this is not business, this is just hanging out with my fellow, you know, SM Tax employee member, right? Because you're part of that team as well. There's that team, you've got a family team, you've got your own direct family team, you know. So so this is something that I really think, especially since we are working remotely, and especially we can't do that, you know, when we walk through somebody's office, hey, how's it? And catch up about what the boyfriend did, if it was a boyfriend or a girlfriend who's cheating or whatever. And this is what we catch up on, you know, what we miss about going to work, right? And seeing what the person is wearing. Oh, did you see what Leander is wearing today? You know, those are the things that we don't see because we are working remotely now. And that is also sometimes it's so draining, because sometimes we need to want to dress up, put on the red lipstick, you know, and look great, and you walk into the office and everyone is saying, wow, Leanda, or wow, Sina, you look fabulous today. You know, it's just those little things that we don't experience anymore. So even go on a fun team break and you say to the guys, okay guys, no pajama pants at the bottom, let's just dress up, let's put lipstick on, not the guys, guys dress up in a suit, and you know, you're going to see a client, and you all come to a team fun break like this and you have fun, you know. So try and do that, because it's what cements and what builds a team. Okay. Also, the other thing is celebrate as a team, right? If you've really come through a good week or a bad week, let's put it that way, and you've resolved a lot of your clients' issues, celebrate as a team. Go quickly online, guys, quick, want to brief you, blah, 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 blah. And celebrate as a team, you know. Nothing beats celebrating as a team when goals are achieved. It's heartwarming too when teams remember a person's milestone events, such as birthdays and anniversaries. Get to know each other. Send each other those messages. Hey, on your team chat maybe. Hey team, it's Kulaleko's birthday today. Let's give him a surprise. Everyone sing a happy birthday message to him, record a video and send it to him. And let's tell him how much we appreciate him as our team leader, or let's tell him, you know, how lovely is that? If you get this on your birthday and your team is saying to you, hey, Nkalaleko, you know, thank you very much for teaching me this. This has empowered me with this, and that has taught me that. That is what good team leaders are about, is to build people and empower people. Team celebrations boost morale and keep members close to each other. Happy members are the secret ingredients of a well-connected team. Remember that. You know, we can go through stress, but at the end of the day, we can still be happy and we can laugh about it. Okay. Stay connected no matter how dispersed the team is for now. Solutions are everywhere to keep the vibe alive. So I've given you a couple of things that you can do, and try them, just try them, and you'll see the difference it would make. Because every time your team probably hears from you is serious stuff, it's work stuff, right? Or it's stuff that's not working, or it's issues that is continually coming up. But imagine if your team leader sends you a link. I need to have an urgent meeting with you. You think, oh shit, what happened now? And you have the meeting and the guy says, hey, you really did well this, and I need to personally thank you, and I need to personally say, I'm very proud of you. What is that going to do to that team member? It's going to uplift them. It's going to want them to do better next time as well. So it's very important. Come on. Okay, so let me just have a look. Okay, I think that was the end of that. Let me just have a look quickly, just to make sure that that was the end of. Yeah, so that was the end of that in empowering remote teams. Very important. Empowering people is extremely important, because if we don't do that, people will feel that they are not appreciated. Okay, I sent, did everyone get the files that I've put in there? I'll just have a look quickly here. Just give me one moment. Did everyone get the files that I put in the team box? With regards to all the policies? Can I get a yes? Sinavia, did you get all the documents that relates to company policy?
No, Kissy, I didn't get.
Okay, it's in the team. It's in the team file, and everyone has been sent. I actually sent it late last night. I was waiting for Pongi. I was waiting for the organization chart. I haven't received that yet because I wanted to include that in the discussion, but we probably have to do another session for that. How much time have we got left? So we did 9, 10, so we've got about an hour left. Okay. I want to go through just, I'll share the screen with you again. So SM tax house rules. So what I want you to type in your box, or no, not in your box. Can you send me an email now? I don't want to ask afterwards, please. Can you send it to me now that everyone has received this it's in the team file box, okay? And I'm reading it, as you can see here. Oops, I'm reading it from there. Okay, from the Coach Kissy team file thing. So this one is the SM Tax house rules. And these are the general house rules. Lunch times will be a total of 1 hour, including tea or smoke breaks. You have the option to bundle your times or split as you wish. Okay, I just want to make sure of that time, if that complies, because whatever we put into our house rules has to comply with labor relations. Okay. It says Facebook and YouTube is acceptable during breaks, but usage will be monitored. If we notice your productivity is being impaired due to this, we will issue with a warning. No movie or video content during working hours is allowed. Please eat in design areas. Yes, Luanda.
Just a question with regards to the Facebook and the YouTube and movies. Obviously, now with working from home, how is that going to be monitored? Is there a strategy around monitoring that?
I think that there's actually, if you're working on Teams, and there's certain software that actually tells, whoever is managing it, or the administrator, whatever, they can see with what sites you visit. Yes. Okay. I don't know if if that is the situation with SM Tax, because I don't know the platform that they are using to manage the remote teams. But yes, for instance, another client of mine, it's a foreign airline from Netherlands, or German airline. They manage their teams with software, and they go onto a platform. And I think this platform was probably written for them themselves, but I do know that they can, they monitor that, and they can actually see how long somebody's busy with a client, who called, all of those things. So there are some very intelligent software to manage that. Okay. Okay, please eat in design. That's probably when you are in office, right? Please only engage in SM Tax work-related activities during working hours. Example, no selling private items. Okay. Appropriate dress code. That's probably when you come into office. Please look presentable at all times, and probably when you go to clients, etc. That's your leave. Okay.
I think Gololeko has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Nkululeko, I didn't see that. I was reading here.
But if an employee actually tells you, nah, you're not paying for my internet, neither am I using the company laptop. So you can't be monitoring what actually happens on my laptop.
Okay. Look, I understand those things. I'm going to come to a sector of where we're going to discuss that. Okay. So I'd like to know everyone's. So I'm going through this so that there's a formal introduction to all of this, especially team leads, because this is what you need to know to manage your teams. Okay. And to make sure that whatever company policy is introduced by the company is carried forward, right? So the leave in that 18 days per calendar year must be communicated in due course with management for approval. Leave is accumulated at a rate of 1.5 days per month. So I'm not going to go through the leave because leave is very simple. It abides by its labor relations. So there's a law that governs that, and there's paternity leave, study leave. Should you not come into work for any specific reason, please let us know by 8 a.m. or that morning in the case of illness. So this is very important, especially for us, like for my company, because people work remotely, right? And the company has a contract with a client that so many staff has to be on site at a certain time. So if they don't make their shift, what we do is we have a person at our office that before, when it's shift time, everyone is accounted for, let's put it that way, or clocks in that way. So she will know already when we are going to be short, and she will send out to the backup staff for them to make their way to the site. So that's how we manage that, because it's physical. They've got to go physical there, right? And then be part of, what do you call that, workers? Essential workers. So all leave requests need to be approved prior to actioning, as leave is a discretionary privilege subject to the limitations of the Labour Act. All leave taken will do out due notice, and approval will be unpaid and will likely result in no written warning being issued. Okay. Unpaid leave may be requested, but is subject to approval as well, and may be limited with regards to duration. Okay, so that's kind of house rules. I will obviously give my feedback to Sevanati of how I think that some of these things need to be addressed, or how it should be. So here, as you can see, there's all the has this been explained to you before? Can you type in your chat box? Yes or no? Just type in yes or no, all right? It's important for me that I know. Okay. So, no, only Barclay and Kululeko says yes. All the others says no. Okay. Okay, so it's important then that this is something that should be. So this was implementation date, but there's no date there. Anyway, so this is quite a biggie. So there's an introduction of code of ethics and business conduct for SM Tax digital accounting. And there she gives you the reasons for why there should be a code of ethics and business conduct. And the purpose of this code is the following: to serve as a brief description of the company's core values, to provide a framework for identifying conduct that is ethical and acceptable for the employees, to create the context for the ethical use of authority and conducting of business, and to support all efforts aimed at curbing moral degeneration within the company. So the scope here is, although the company cannot bind contractors, clients, service providers, and customers to this code, the principles contained herein will play a fundamental role in the continued relationship with the company's contractors, clients. So it's basically how you conduct, how SMTax will conduct business. So it addresses ethics. Why should there be standards of ethics? To ensure that all employees, contractors, clients, service providers, etc., are aware of the basic values are cherished by the company, its employees, and management. So it's important that is, you know, that this is, now can you type in there, according to this one, which is your code of ethics and business conduct, can you let me know whether this was explained to you, either yes or no in the chat box? Yo. Okay, that's a problem, because how do you know how to carry the company if you don't know how and what is required from you? You can only deliver what is communicated now. So maybe this is the reason why 7RT has asked me to go through all of this, because in my previous communications with her, I felt that policy is very important, because policy is what runs the company. This one company that I'm involved in, we've got 102 policies. 102 policies. And those policies were adopted, or policies, what is company policy for? So let me explain to you what company policy is for. If something goes wrong in a company, right? So let's just say there was a process of how you do your client's books, and this is something that has been done has impacted badly for the client. And so what one does is you implement company policy to prevent that from happening in the future. And so through the years, I wrote company policy, you know, as the years went on. Just see. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Yeah, so this is a very important part of the company, because this is how you have to carry the company, right? So you've got ethics. Very important, especially in, I mean, you know what happened with state capture and with all of these other scandals that have come up, where KPMG and these kind of people were ousted and they lost millions, you know. So it's important that why there should be a standard of ethics and what the company is, to ensure that all employees and contractors are aware of the basic values. I think I said that. So what are the fundamental ethical standards cherished and expected by the company? So these are a culture of honesty, integrity, fairness, and responsibility and respect, loyalty, professionalism, acceptance of responsibility and accountability, a positive public image, striving for and maintaining credibility. Very important for a company if they want to survive. High standards of service delivery, very important, because if this year lacks, right, this year, you're kind of done for. If this continuously is an issue where you don't deliver that high standards and the service delivery to clients, a sense of pride in being employed by the company, you know, sanctioning bad and rewarding good behavior, and all other positive attributes contributing towards sound ethical standards. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and just remember that when I communicate, I don't communicate by saying, Bongi said this, Luyanda said this, and Kulaleku said this. I said, this is what came out from the meeting, or this is what came out from the workshop. And this is why I've in the contractual thing there on the app, it's to protect you, to say, okay, if you are going to share something with me that you feel you need to share, that is going to make everyone's place in SM Tax better, and it's going to make the company better, let me rather speak to the top structure and say, I think you need to change this because of this. Now, this was something, doing this in terms of public, in terms of policy, company policy, this was something that I said, do staff know what company policy is? And this is why this is coming out now, because it's important. You have to. So please don't be scared that, I'm going to say this one did this and that one said that. All right. I will put it together as, and I've worked with huge corporates, and I still don't do that. I say, look, I cannot disclose who, but this is the sense of the staff, and it's something that you need to address, and it's something that you need to know. Okay, because how do we know if you are a team leader, right? You head up your team, and if you know, how do you know if that person is unhappy if they don't state it, and how do you know certain things have to change if you don't know about it? Okay. The company and its employees subscribe to the following ethical behavioral standards: to be held accountable, to manage the company's resources to the maximum benefit for the company and its shareholders, to be a responsible corporate citizen, to consider the environment and others' rights, to comply with the law and legal standards, to strive to and apply effective corporate governance principles, to honor agreements with clients, customers, service providers, consultants, and employees, not to mislead the public and our stakeholders, to reject any form or offer of dishonesty from others. Very important, I mean, just think the implications of a company, if you lie. Let me tell you a story. I'll protect the person's identity. But this was somebody that worked for SARS. And this person goes around and does investigations and checks, income, etc. And she went around, and the guy said to her, look, if you declare less than what we are doing, then we will give you a coffee shop. Okay. And eventually what happened was this person then did that, accepted the bribe. And when she went for her coffee shop, they asked her, what coffee shop? Do you want us to phone SARS now? You know how quickly that person resigned from SARS because she was so scared. So be very careful, with those kind of things. You know that if you don't partake in those kind of things, you can sleep peacefully, So to avoid any conflict of interest with the company, to not use the resources of the company for any other purpose than for the company and its shareholders, not to misuse our positions as a company or an employee to derive personal benefits. We respect others, their human dignity and individuality, not to discriminate in any way against each other. So the code of conduct, it talks about the code of conduct that we have to comply with that, and the primary purpose of the code of conduct. So you guys can read through there. It's in your thingy. You can download it. You can print it. Personal conduct and private interests. An employee shall, during official duties, dress and behave in a manner that enhances the reputation of a company, act responsibly as far as the use of alcoholic beverages or any other substance with an intoxicating effect is concerned, not use her or his official position to obtain private gifts or benefits for himself during the performance of his or her duties. Those are all, very standard with each and every company that deals with finances. Not use or disclose any official information for personal gain or the gain of others, and not without approval undertake normative work outside her or his duties, or you use office equipment for such work. It's very similar stuff that we have in our company policy as well. Compliance. All employees covered with the scope of this document shall be required to sign a declaration upon employment that she or he is familiar with, and understands, and will conform with the code. Responsibility for ensuring that all employees and officials have delivered this declaration lies with the managers. Okay, so it's very important for you as team leaders to do exactly what I'm doing with you now, so that they understand, and get them to confirm in writing that this has been explained to you. And if there's any questions around not understanding, my suggestion then is to, or if you want to further explore this, is to then do an email and refer to this policy, and just get clarity, and so that you know that it's in writing, that you've done, and you've sent it to Sebanati, and she can clarify it for you. But the fact that you've received this document and I've gone through this document with you to explain it to you is a very important process. Okay. Let me get to the other one. Your disciplinary code. Okay, so who has been explained this? Can you put in your chat box whether you have been explained it? The disciplinary code. I'm actually quite amazed, because this is very important. Okay, so be that as it may, in the past, at least now you guys will know, what the disciplinary code is and the procedure. And also what will happen is that they will not implement, this code will be implemented by the company, but it would be done with somebody outside that doesn't work with everyone every day, because then it becomes very difficult even for you managers, for you leaders to implement. You've got to know also this policy, so that if one of your team members breach this policy, then you know the procedures to take. So we all know what the purpose and intention of this code and procedure is. It's to manage the code as per the Labor Relations Act. Okay. So the code aims at setting standards and guidelines to employees, supervisors, and managers alike when it comes to conduct and performance in the workplace. The aim of the code is to correct behavior of employees by providing guidelines on misconduct and the treatment thereof by the company. So employees are encouraged to read this code, and copies thereof must be supplied to managers and employees, right? So it's important that you in turn download these things and you email them to your entire team. Okay. Can I get an answer to that? Will you please do that? All right. Very important, because it now also makes things more formal in terms of managing your team, right? And it teaches you as well a little bit of what your purpose is in managing your staff, and using the system to correct if anyone goes and does against company policy. Okay. So therefore, the main purpose of this code is to ensure fair and equal treatment of all employees and to ensure that all employees are treated alike, to ensure that this code complies with South African labour legislation and legal framework, to encourage managers to take timely and corrective action where a misconduct arises. This here is very important because this is where you will come in and manage your team in a way where you can see somebody's performance, and if somebody continuously is not returning your calls or somebody is continuously not taking your instructions seriously, you can now start sending them maybe a first warning and then a counseling session, you know, and saying, okay, this is, I've watched this and this is continually happening. Or, you know, for instance, like we have somebody continuously either on a Friday is absent or on a Monday is absent. And so we know, you know, it's either gone out Thursday night partying and it's going into Friday and going into the weekend. And then we get people that get partying in the weekend and then Monday they're not able to get to work. And you get to know some of the staff. That one's going to do this, you know, you just get to know it. I'm speaking of experience, right? And so if you see these, a regular thing happening like this, that's when you start using the system to correct that behavior, okay? So to ensure that disciplinary action is progressive and consistent, very important, it has to be consistent. You cannot discipline one person and not the other if they're doing the same thing. Very important, because what you are doing is, the legal term is you're setting a precedent. Okay, so if you're dismissing somebody for fraud, let's put it that way, and there's another staff member also, and that person is not dismissed, then a precedent has been set. And once you set that precedent, you can't dismiss anyone for fraud again, you know, because that precedent was set. So very important, it's legal. Also, if you know, lawyers, when they do cases, they go into the history of case law to see how certain cases has been held, and they use that as an argument in court as well. So to identify acts of misconduct, and in order to give a guideline to employees and management, to provide a guideline for handling acts of misconduct, including the prescribed sanction for such acts of misconduct. So this is the scope of your disciplinary code, and it applies to all employees. This code cancels all previous codes, policies, procedures, and practices regarding disciplinary. So if you had anything else before, this will now replace that. Okay, so the code is not intended to be exhaustive, and the company may take disciplinary action for any reason recognized as sufficient in law. This code does not deal with industrial action or the company's response to industrial action. Is a different thing. You know, there's a whole lot of procedures there. You can't, for instance, if a staff member says to you, I didn't get my salary yesterday, and I'm not working today. Do you know what that is? You guys know what that is? It's an illegal strike. Okay, so if a staff member tells you, I didn't get my salary today and I was supposed to get paid and I'm not working tomorrow, and if that person goes through with that, it's an illegal strike, it's serious misconduct, and it's a dismissible offense. Okay, so you can pull that person into, you can either say to them, I'm giving you 10 minutes to get back to work. And if they still refuse, then you suspend them and then you bring them in a disciplinary. Okay, so it's called what we call a unlawful strike. Because before strike happens, there's a whole lot of things that happens before that. Okay. Disciplinary action taken by the company will depend on individual circumstances. Previous tolerance or condemnation of offences will not prevent the company from future disciplinary action. Counseling and dismissal are regarded as part of management's responsibility, which will be exercised where behavior is unacceptable or unsatisfactory or where terms of conditions of employment are not met. Very important, right? Does everyone have a contract of employment? Just say yes or no in the box. Okay. Kululeko says yes. Sino says yes. Nohan Yolayanda? Yes. Bongi? Yes. Machle? Yes. Bongi, did you say yes? Oh,
I don't,
you don't have?
no.
Okay. All right. So that's something we need to sort out. Okay. So with my company, with many other companies that I've helped set up, what we do is we have when you have your employment contract, there's a clause in the employment contract that says that you accept all company policies now and any future ones that the company may, and it's legal, okay? So if there's any other company policies that gets added on, obviously that gets distributed, person signs that they've received it, and it goes into their staff file. Okay, so as a general guide, counseling and informal procedures may be used to remedy lesser forms of misconduct and to correct behavior in an informal manner. Ultimately, the severity of the offense will determine the steps taken by management. So you as team leaders, you are the first, let's call it the first defense, where you deal, because you're dealing directly with employees. It's very important that you start operating in a way where you are, that's why it's so important for you to lead and set examples, you can't go and discipline someone if you don't respond to their emails, right? Then how can you discipline someone then if you're not doing it? So it's important that that we as leaders, we lead by example, okay? And make sure that you don't go against this company policy, because you would be then setting that example as well. And what will make you stronger and stronger in your management skills is how you handle the company policy. The moment you see something, start talking to the person about it, depending how serious it is. If it's a dismissible offense, tell them this is a dismissible offense. It's gross misconduct. You can lose your job if taken through the procedures. You can't just say to somebody you're fired anymore. You've got to take them through the procedures. And that's where most companies fail. They don't follow the procedures, okay? So important that if you notice a staff member doing something against company policy, is to literally say to them, email them, give them a copy of the company policy. This is in violation, and you highlight whatever was in violation, and you just say, please take note of this and for to take cognizance and for this not to happen in the future again. And that's kind of a very simple, informal, but still formal because it's in writing. Just remember one thing. In one of our company policies for leadership is, what's not written is not true. And that just says, if you haven't put something in writing and sent it to the person, what proof do you have that you've actually advised that person or told that person about a certain thing, right? Because the other person says, you never told me. And if you can't whip out an email where that person has sent you a reply that they've received it, then where do you stand? Then it's your word against that person. So it just makes things very easy. It's one of our biggest company policies. And it may seem to take time, but better safe than sorry. Okay? put things in writing, make sure people respond to it. And in that way, there's a paper trail. You guys should know what paper trail is, because you in the business where you know, accounting and auditing, there must be a paper trail, right? So the references in legislation is here. You'll see all of it, right? And it refers to all these acts. And here the company will give you all the definitions, right? So alleged offender will mean the employee of the company accused of misconduct, right? That's the chairman, complainant, code, company, employee, etc. Employee representative, it explains to you what it is. Interpreter, independent contractor. This is very important. I've challenged this. This has been challenged already. So what we do is, if we even issue disciplinary hearings, right? We get you to sign there that has been interpreted to you in your own mother tongue. Because this year, if it goes to CCMA and you have no proof that you have interpreted it into their mother tongue for them to understand, then you have no leg to stand on. Because then it's again your word against that person, okay? And unless you can prove that, then the company is okay. So what I will actually, what I will be doing is, we have all our company policies, and each and every policy we have questions that you have to answer. So we're testing your knowledge, right? So you answer those questions, and that also goes into your file, because if you can answer those questions, and if the answers are wrong, then we know that there's a misunderstanding, and we go in there and we tell you, okay, that is wrong. This is the right answer because of X, Y, and Z. Okay. Legal it gives you all the abbreviations. Conduct and performance. Misconduct will be held through disciplinary steps. It's set out in the code, and if guilty, warnings issued to ensure that an employee corrects or his behavior immediately. Poor performance relates to circumstances where an employee, through incapacity due to illness and injury, performance related, is unable to comply with the performance standard required from him or her. The company recognizes that employees should first be assisted to correct their performance through the procedures set in place in the company's poor performance management program. So you've got a policy there if you have a staff member that is performing poorly. So here are the procedures. Important for you to note this. Counseling first to avoid formal discipline. So I've said, started gently with counseling objectives to counseling. Here you can read through here as well what the objectives are, and requirements of the counseling interview. So if you're going to do a counseling interview, it can take place in a formal or informal. I always do informal, but I follow the formal procedures. I confirm it with stuff in writing, okay? So that there is a record of it. So these are informal counseling, informal discussions between employee and his manager, supervisor, can take place to assist the employee to understand the rule or procedure. And if the person says, oh, I didn't know, I'm not supposed to do that. Well, now you know, and it's explained, and then you get it in writing. This has been explained to me. I understand it now, and blah, 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 blah. Get them to sign it. Always get a witness to sign as well. Or many stages where we issue, let's just say we go in and we go and suspend somebody, right? So when you suspend it with pay, then, you are suspended, and there's certain regulations because you are paid for that day, and the employer can actually go and visit your home to see if you are home because they're paying you for that, right? And sometimes what happens is when we go and suspend someone, you know, they get abusive with you, etc., etc., and they don't want to leave the site or something like that. And then you've got to do the measures that you have to do, you know. A formal meeting must be scheduled between the employee and the manager and the supervisor. The meeting must be minuted. There it is, in writing. An employee can bring a representative to the meeting. Yeah, and a representative, as you see at the bar there, the representative is normally a fellow employee. Or if the person is a member of a union, then a union representative can be present. Okay, so these are all things. Shortcoming of transgression must be identified, described by the parties at the meeting. An explanation must be sought for the employee's conduct. Underlying issues of company rule or standards must be recorded. Solutions must be discussed, and if possible, consensus reached. A solution should be formally agreed and recorded. Necessary follow-up discussion to examine progress towards the solution must be sent. Okay, so there they tell you also maximum lifespan is 3 months. Okay, part of counseling is to follow up on the progress made by the employee. If satisfactory progress is not made within the deadlines set for follow-up and the conduct is repeated, management proceed to the next step, which is to issue verbal or written warning. And depending on the thing that the person does wrong, the incident or the act, you can go directly to final warning in certain instances. Okay. Then also final warnings. We have a certain, I think it's 6 months, not longer than 6 months to stay on your file, but you can implement policy also to say how much longer you want that final warning depending on the misconduct. There's the responsibilities of the employee to refrain from acts of misconduct, familiarize himself with this code, to observe the standard of proper behavior set out in this code and other coded and procedures of the company, to maintain and demonstrate disciplined behavior at all times, to demonstrate goodwill, honesty, good faith towards the company at all times, to report all forms of misconduct. This is very important, okay? You cannot see somebody stealing and not doing anything about it. We've got a policy that's very strict with that, where you can do an email directly to the managing director and you copy the employee in because it's a very transparent thing, okay? To testify in disciplinary hearings if the employee has knowledge of misconduct committed by other employees. Responsibilities of the company. These are the responsibilities of the company. To make copies of this code available to all employees. And here you've got the code now. Responsibility of the complainant. The responsibility of all witnesses, of the chairperson, and the procedural objectives. So these are the phases, right? Initiating your complaint, investigation, and then, you know, once you've done your investigation, you can either decide then to suspend from duty, depending also on the severity. You can suspend with pay or you can suspend without pay. If you're going to suspend without pay, it's better to bring that person in within 48 hours when the disciplinary hearing is going to be. So here's misconducts which justify suspension: assault, righteous behavior, gross insubordination, right? So gross insubordination can be not taking an instruction from an executive or manager. If you ask him to do something and he just flatly refuses or don't want to do it, you know, as long as it's not, you're not asking Bongi to kill Baagle, because then it's, you know, against the law, and you can then deny, you know, I'm not going to do that, right? But if you say to Barclay, I need this report, this is very important, this is a very client, can you please do this? And he flatly refuses. If he doesn't do this, it's gross insubordination, because it's an instruction from the manager that you are not carrying out. Okay, misconduct with dishonesty is an element like fraud, theft, unauthorized possession of company property, breaching the trust relationship, very important. I've suspended many people already breaching the trust relationship, right? Uncontrollable and emotional behavior. And this year, breaching the trust relationship, I've done it with senior staff already, you know, where that relationship has been broken. Uncontrollable emotional behavior, any act which threatens health and safety of other employees, any behavior giving rise to serious relationship disturbances, intoxication, you know, unlawful misappropriation of company property, other matters regarded as appropriate, not mentioned above. It all falls. If you go into the gross misconduct, it's in labor relations, there's a whole list there as well. There's a notice of the disciplinary inquiry.
Kissy, sorry, just a question.
Yeah, sure.
Would you mind just giving an example of breaching the trust relationship that is not part of the bullet points? What would be an example?
Okay, so I'll give you an actual case where the guy was actually dismissed. He was with the company for 12 years. And he was in sales, right? And this employer is retiring next year. So this person was in training and going to be trusted with the business to carry it forward, because the owner is retiring. And it was discovered that, actually quite by accident, it was discovered that he's been doing the same work in the printing industry, the same work. And they had a corporate client, and they couldn't understand why the client stopped ordering. And so he was supplying the client under his father's company. So that's a breach of trust, right? And so that was the main reason why, because they had the proof, and he admitted also, because they had done the investigation. He had gone to the same companies that this company used to do certain work and to do that work. And so that's gross misconduct. That is breaching trust, okay? Another way of breaching trust is if you're stealing something and it comes out, you know, or if you bad mouthing the company with clients, that's also breaching trust, because you are now bad mouthing the company that you're working for, right? Biting the hand that feeds you. Okay, right. So parties at the disciplinary hearings normally the chairman, the alleged offender, the representative, any person of trade union, or a person who's going to translate as well. So this is very important. Legal practitioners and trade union officials who are not employees are not allowed to attend disciplinary inquiries. Okay. I've put trade union officials out of my office already when I chaired, because they are not allowed in the company can actually object to that, because it's an internal process. It's only when that process goes outside, you know, to the CCMA or the labor court when they can have that. And especially if employees are not members of any recognized union, and if the employer doesn't know, because you have to advise the employer if you're going to join a union. Within 7 days, you have to advise the employer, okay? Recordings of proceedings, minutes must be held. What we do is we record. We have an actual recording. We have a phone that we sit, and we've got recording software on there, and we record it on there. communication. And what we do is then we save those recordings. And if this person goes to Labour Court or CCMA, we can then minute it from there, right? A burden of proof. Company obviously have to have, it's the very same as a court. You'll see the proceedings is the very same as court. Can have witnesses, there has to be valid proof, etc. Witnesses are interrogated by both parties, the employee and the company. And then there's informal disciplinary action, okay? Any informal process remains subject to an appeal. And also if there's a formal process, you can also appeal, but it depends on the chairperson, whether the chairperson feel there's enough merit for an appeal. And so the chairperson will advise if an appeal is received, whether they're going to redo the process or whether it's denied, okay? And disciplinary sanctions. So after the chairperson listens to everyone and all the evidence, etc., and looks into the file of the person and all of that, then the chairperson will make I've found some people I found not guilty because I couldn't find the evidence, and the company couldn't provide the evidence. So it's very much like that. If the person is found guilty, there's a section where the employee can give mitigating circumstances and can ask for, mitigating circumstances, explain why did you, what position was put him into that position, and the chairperson will listen to it and then look in the record of the HR file of the particular employee. If there is a final written warning already which is valid in your file, then you'll get dismissed, because a final written warning is a final written warning. And so if you don't dismiss somebody when he's found guilty of another offense after he's got a final warning, then you're setting another precedent. And this is why it's important that if there is a final warning in the file already and he's found guilty of another offense and is guilty again, then automatically that person gets dismissed, right? But you also, as the chairperson, has to read why you get to that position. Then there's something where you can, I've had 2 cases already, or a few cases, where the person can be dismissed. But the alternative for dismissal can be that you suspend that person for a month without pay. That person will go home, will not earn money for that amount of time, and then report back to work. That's the alternative. But there has to be extenuating circumstances for doing that. But that's the other thing that you can do as well, because now that person's being punished by being a month without pay and feel what it's like, and normally that works very well as well. So dismissal as a sanction. So no employee may be dismissed without the holding of a formal disciplinary inquiry. Very important. You can't go and tell your team members, you're not working here anymore, you're dismissed or whatever. You're putting your company in serious trouble, because there's a process that has to take place. There's mitigation, like I said, and aggravation. Nature, I've done this, and this has been tested already at CCMA, where I've done cases, and I've always won my cases because I follow the procedures, right? Very important to follow the procedures. General rules for disciplinary management. These you can go through as well. It's important that you as team leaders go through this. Okay, so 5.7, make sure that you make yourself familiar with that. and the schedule of misconduct and sanctions. So these here are what the company has decided to be their disciplinary code, right? Absent without leave, right? Absenteeism without leave could be caused by misconduct, ill health, factors beyond the control of the employee. Leave is to be based on misconduct. A disciplinary inquiry should be conducted. Okay, absence without leave. So in other words, somebody doesn't tell you he's sick or whatever, and they just stay away. And if they don't contact within a week, they don't contact the company, or the company tries to contact them, then they can be summarily dismissed. They can be sent, and even you can do the disciplinary in absentia, because there's nowhere to be found, but you still got to go through those processes, try and serve the hearing, etc. Abuse of sick leave, non-notification of absence, time-related misconducts, like reporting late work, leaking work before time, unauthorized absence from work, station or post, unauthorized breaks, and these are all unsatisfactory. So these all fall under time-related misconducts, unsatisfactory work performance, unacceptable behavior, dishonest conduct, bribery, corruption, fraud, forgery, theft, unauthorized possession, misappropriation, property, disclosure of confidential information, very important as well, falsification, disorderly conduct, insubordination and related misconduct, participation in misconduct. When I've already had people that stole in the store, opened, yes, and we catch them on camera. They open the liquor in the store and they go sit and get drunk. And then there's somebody else helping drinking as well. So, you know, that gets participation in the misconduct, smoking in a non-smoking zone, unauthorized placing of posters, notices, etc. Defacement of notices, abusive behavior, violation of traffic rules. That's if you are driving a company vehicle. Taking of company vehicles to unauthorized places for unauthorized purposes. I've had that already, and it's a case that was tested at CCMA and in the labor court, and I won the case. It was also a company policy, you know, where a person is given a car, and then I took it away and gave it to another person, and he took it to CCMA. But the company has the right to, because it's property of the company. Doesn't mean that the company gives you a vehicle that it can't be taken away from you. Negligence or gross negligence, alcohol or drug-related misconducts, industrial action. There's strikes, secondary strikes, unprotected picketing, protest action, intimidation, inciting, industrial action, sabotage and threats of sabotage. So here's your absenteeism, and this is your first, second, third, fourth, fifth warning. Here we don't have this. We have first, second, and final, right? And these are the absenteeism. Time related, these are your structures for, first is verbal warning, but if you give a verbal warning, makes a notice, you've been given a verbal warning, and sign here that you've been given a verbal warning. Otherwise, there's no proof as well, okay? Unsatisfactory work performance, unacceptable behavior, dishonest conduct, disorderly conduct, abusive behavior. So you've got your code here given to you very clearly, where you can actually see it, so that you can actually implement that with your team, you know. Negligence, alcohol and drug, industrial action. Note the above mentioned list is not exhaustive list, and new matters will create a precedent over time. Okay, so see the word precedent that is used. Serious offences could warrant dismissal on the first occurrence, and that is gross, what I call gross misconduct. forms to be used in the disciplinary process. Here's all the forms. And so that's the end of it. So now you've got that, the documents are all in your file, in your library file, you can print it. What I'd like you to do for me is to list the documents that's in here, 1, 2, 3, 4 documents that's in here, and send me on the app that you've received it, okay? And that I have gone through it with it. Jesus. Oh, like that. And this is your managing poor performance policy. Okay. Your scope, your reference, always reference, and then your definitions. You all know what the definitions are. And so these are your principles to consider in determining and dealing with poor performance. Okay, so this is Pongi, are we at this level? Do we deal with this at this level as well? Team leaders level, or is it
Yes,
escalated above? They deal with it as well, right?
they do, though we haven't, you would have noticed from the answers, Sivanati has committed at Manco to go through this with the team. So we haven't had the opportunity to engage the policies and give our input, both EXCO and Manco, but definitely team leaders are expected to assist in the discipline.
Right. So it's you know, team leaders are at a certain level, you know, so these documents have been given to you. I've slightly gone through it, and I've placed more emphasis on certain things. But dealing with poor performance is a team leader and management process. And if there's anything that you want to clarify with regards to this process, I think that needs to be done in a management meeting, because whoever wrote the policy will be able to give you, you know, the guidelines, and then also make sure that you ask for the documentation that needs to be completed for all these things, so that you are au fait with it, you are shown, you know, how to complete it, etc., etc. I think when it comes to calling somebody in a disciplinary hearing, Sivanati has asked me to take the process, you know, to manage the process for them, because it's easier if somebody outside of the company manages the process, because then it's done without, you know, you're working with a person. It's difficult for you to sit as a chairperson and do the disciplinary hearing as a team leader, because you work with a person every day. And so there's emotions, you know. So make sure that this process, see these annexures, a discussion document, notice to attend discussions. And so if there's any attached documents that, okay, so here's the annexure 1, discussion document. So you've got guidance here, right? So it's important to follow here. If you follow everything that's on the document, then you're complying. Okay. Always, it's always good to have a witness as well. Okay, because the employee may say, I didn't sign that, you know, and then you don't have a witness, right? And it's your word against that person. It is important. So if you complete this form and if you follow this form, these annexures, it guides you to the questions and the stuff that has to be completed. Okay. Okay, so now I want to have a process. I'm already at my time end. I think what I will do is I'm going to speak to Sivanati because I've got another appointment at 12 and I've got to prepare for that, which is an executive coaching that I'm doing for an executive. And I've got a little bit I've gone an hour, a half an hour more than the time I should have been finished at 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for another session, Bongi, where we can actually explore this and go through the documentation that has to be completed for the leaders. And also to give them examples of how to do the actual disciplinary, how to enforce it. I think that's very important because they would need help with that, because if none of them has ever done it, then I think that need assistance and training on that.
Definitely, Kissy, definitely. I hope we have that session. Having had to do disciplinary procedures myself, it also goes with your professional. It's something that goes with you.
Yes.
In your career. So there are cases as well that, let's say, where I previously worked with Bahle, I would be the company representative in disciplinary actions. And if that case has since gone to the CCMA and I was part of that case, they are able to call me, even though I'm no longer at that company, to go and cite. So it's actually quite something that I think is very beneficial for anyone that is at a
especially management, and especially at this level where you are now. And if you're going to go up further in your career, you're going to have to do that. It's the one thing that nobody likes to do. It's the stuff that you have to do. But if there's a series where somebody needs to be suspended or whatever, that is always, a lot of companies outsource that. And so this is what Sivanati has asked me to do, to help her in that respect as well. If we get to that level, that would then be taken away from the leaders or whatever, because then what you become is you will be driving the company's case. So if I do a disciplinary hearing, it would be the team leader that would drive the company's case, and I would have to show the team leaders how to do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. If I must chair a case.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. And then what I want to do in the next thing is, maybe what I can do is this. I'm going to, on the team, you're on the app for 3 months, okay? So it's 3 months that you are on the app. And you'll have courses every month. But I think what I should do then is, I should, in the next session, which I want to do next week, because not to wait for too long, is to do a what we call a problem solving thing, or a grievances thing, where everyone will state whatever grievances they have, and I will take it up with the directorate, and then find a resolve for it. Sometimes it's something very simple, that can be resolved very quickly. But I believe that there has to be a platform where team leaders like you can actually say, okay, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with that. I'd like this to be brought to your attention. How can we resolve that? And find a resolve for that thing. Okay. And also for you to be given the assurance that whatever grievances you state, that you won't be victimized for it. Okay? Everyone agree? Okay, so I'm going to end off. I'm going to ask you to have a stunning week further and a brilliant weekend. And I hope then to see you guys for another 2-hour session next week. I'll speak to Sivanati because it's very important. Pungi, maybe you can already start speaking to her and then I will follow it up with my emails, etc.
Sure, happy to
Okay,
do that.
but just drive it so that I can do it next Wednesday again.
Okay.
Right? It's Wednesday morning. I've got the early morning slot I've got open. I'm starting to get. Let me show you my diary. Oops. I have to print a new one now. But this is my diary for the week, as you can see.
Oh, hectic. You need my colors.
I need your colors, eh?
Yes.
I'm going to update it, and I know it's fuller. So on a Friday morning, I tend to keep myself clear for any spillovers, because on a Friday I mean, I sometimes work until 8 at night. So I take Friday off and I don't work on a Friday. But only like if there's spillover appointments, and then I'll do it like early on a Friday morning.
Awesome.
Okay, guys. Can you please just tell me how was the session, Bongi?
For me, Kissy, I won't lie. This morning, I had a lot of anxiety. I don't know why. Just because even the last session left me feeling energized, but also frustrated.
Yes,
so I can't wait for the grievances section.
Okay. It's very important. It's very important,
Yeah.
And sometimes when you face your directors, it's difficult for you to actually feel comfortable but you can address it with me, and I can maybe redirect you how to address it, and maybe and then take it, if there's no resolve, or if I can't give you a resolve, is then to take it to Sivanati, sit with her and say, okay, what can we do here,
Yeah, but feeling very, very energized after today's session. So I'm not feeling like I felt the last time.
Okay.
Which is good. I was able to process today.
Okay, perfect. Barclay?
For me, yes, I enjoyed this session, but I enjoyed the last one more.
More, because this was more related to policies, yeah. More serious stuff, yeah.
Than the previous one, which focused on time management, fine-tuning some of the leadership skills and traits.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next one, though. I do think that this one was also necessary because a lot of what we went through was not really brought up. And I know that because of my employment contract, I only have one policy in my list, which is the house rules. That's the only one that was explained to me. So everything else was not explained. So yeah.
All right, brilliant. Kululeko? You look cold.
I'm not a fan of the cold. I just recovered from flu. No, at least I'm recovering. I think I enjoyed mostly like the last session. And that's actually because I think what Bahle actually mentioned, that at the beginning there wasn't really like a structure in terms of like policies and stuff like that. So now it's actually quite nice that we're not only thrown with these things, but we have someone who has actually tried to actually go through them with us.
Yes.
So yeah, it's quite actually nice.
Okay, thank you, Nkululeko. Luyanda?
Yeah, thank you for the session, Coach Kissy. I think for me, the structure and the plan to talk about the structure and reiterate it with us, the leaders, has left me feeling safer. Here. And also it just gives me hope that I'm being set up to succeed. So overall, just feeling very safe in the organization, something that I didn't feel before and didn't recognize that I lacked before.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Sino?
For me, I enjoyed this session. I think policies is just one of the things that I've been wanting to talk about. I'm happy that we've got the documents so that I can share with my team. So for me, this session was better than the last one.
Okay, all right. Okay, so because you focused more on the team knowing what the rules are of the game. We all need to know what the
Yes.
rules of the game are. If we're playing the game and we don't know the rules, then we don't know how to play the game, right?
True.
So it's very important, although it's serious. It's more kind of on a serious note. But what I will try and implement in next session, I will what would you like me to include in the next session? You know, I'm going to be going through all the documentation and guiding you on how to actually implement this process with your team. But what would you like me to add on as well? That's going to be one section and another section. Would you like me to go more deeper into project management or project planning, or again, you know, growing your management skills? Do you want me to take a few skills and take you through there?
I would say yes, the Kisi, for me personally, time management.
Okay, all right.
Specifically, anything in and around
I was thinking that too. There is an effective team management course on there, but I think what is important is I want to show you how to actually implement it, because some people do okay with reading, but it's important to please do that, the assignments of the course. A few of them has come through. Leanda's has come through. Oops, it's my reminder coming through. I've got a session in 15 minutes. So yeah, and so please guys, just commit to do what when the app sends you an assignment to do, please do it, because it shows me how serious you take this process, right? And it shows me how committed you are to the process. And remember, you signed an agreement there that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because if you want to better yourself, I can give you the information, but if you don't do it, there's nothing I can do, because you will stay stuck where you are and you will not grow. And you have to realize that, yes, we always say that it's not enough time, I'm too busy. There is also a thing surrounding that, okay? Because yes, there is enough time if you plan properly. Yes, there is enough time if you need to get up earlier and do some of the things outside of those hours to get, you know, to get you better. We've got to put in more sometimes for ourselves, right? And this is for you, right? This course that I'm putting on the app is not for Sivanati, it's not for Bongi, it's not for me, it's for you, because you're going to take that skill to any other company, right? And if that skill can be mastered, it's very effective time management, then you've got half the battle won. Because time, just do me one favor, right? Just take tomorrow, right? And write down you don't have to show me, but this is something, an exercise that I want you to do. Maybe I don't know if I've got a thing here. I'm going to ask my office maybe to send it to me. But it's one of our policies where we start evaluating the time that we spend on certain things and how long we spend on something. Then you'll see the time that we waste. So what you do is you say, okay, email to whatever it is, started at, it took me 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Phone call, you write the details there, and you see sometimes, oh shit, I took 15 minutes. Why did I spend 15 minutes on the phone with a staff member, you know? So document that for a couple of days. Then you can actually see where you are wasting time and what you are wasting on time on. It's a good exercise to do. I let one of my PA at the other company, Tabisa, she's with me for 10 years. So she knows me back to front, right? And I said to her, Tabisa, do you want me to ask you to do that exercise? She said, no, Kissy. I know I'm wasting time. I know where as well, you know. So she knows if I request her to do that, she's got to do it. And then it kind of keeps her focused, you know. Because what happens sometimes is you get off focus and you go, you speak to the staff members and how was this? How was it? Half an hour later, you've been sitting and talking crap and not being productive, you know. So do that process and you'll see. And just give me feedback of just one day, just do that process, write down and the time you spend with each task. Then you'll see sometimes where, and then what you can do with that is you can actually see how to make things better in certain ways. Okay? Great, guys. I'm going to say au revoir. And it was lovely to see you guys again. And I hope to see you next time after I've spoken to Sivanati. Okay? Bye-bye.